Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Just for a frame of reference, we are about 1 month into our COVID-19 pandemic, coronavirus pandemic quarantine stay at home. I'm hoping that it's all going well for you. And I'm sure that you found some very creative ways to keep yourself busy. I know I have. We are currently in Paris, and we were scheduled to be here for a couple months. And actually today, I realized this morning, today is the day we were supposed to fly back. But that flight has been postponed for a couple weeks, just over 2 weeks. And so we'll be flying back the 1st of May, and it looks like that actually will happen. And if it doesn't, it's cool. It's a couple more days here is fine. We're great. So we can't go anywhere and do anything and explore the way that we wanted to, but it's all great, right? Right. So speaking of great, I posted this sphere, this graph, this whatever majiggy thing that you would call it, on our site or on our page, and it got so much attention and questions and response that I thought, we need to talk about this. So obviously it struck a chord with some people about who I want to be during COVID-19. The interesting thing is that this graph could be used for anything. It could be used for anything that trips you up or sets you off or triggers you or causes a reaction, right? And so I think it's really important that we talk about this in reference to what's happening right now, the crisis that we're in right now, but as well as almost anything, right? And so basically it's, how do I get from here to here? So I'm responding in this fierce zone right now, but I really want to go to this learning zone or this growth zone. So if you haven't seen this, it says, who do I want to be during COVID-19? And in the fear zone, there's things like I get mad easily, I hoard toilet paper, food, those kinds of things. I spread emotions related to fear and anger. And if you've been on Facebook at all, you can see who's reacting in fear. And then it moves to a learning zone where you become aware of your situation and you think about how you want to act. And then the growth zone is when you've actually grown to the place where you can say, oh, this is, I can stay in a calm emotional state and I can make better choices. And obviously this is where we'd like to be, because this would obviously be a place of more peace and calm and productivity. You could be more productive, you could be more effective, right? It would be beneficial to everyone involved if we could be on this side of the sphere. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about fear to start with. Fear, there's two major reasons that we respond or react in a crisis or for any other reason, any other trigger sets us off. There's two major reasons. One is we're wired that way. We're wired to react to something that is fearful, something that we think causes us fear. And so at the base of our brain, the amygdala, right there at the base of your brain, is set to respond to that. Your brain is wired to keep you safe at all cost, whether that's good or bad. So a lot of times that's really good. Sometimes it's not so good. And I like to call it, an archaic brain. It's how we're originally created. It's instinctual. It's caveman kind of stuff. Cavemen hung out and hid in a cave for a reason. It was safety, right? And so that's one reason that we respond in a fear response. And the other reason is because it's been learned. We have learned over and over to respond that particular way. And sometimes it's decisions we've made. Sometimes it's molding. They say by the time you're 5, 6, 7 years old, you have formed the foundation of how you see the world. So your view of the world, how you see it from your glasses, right, out. And which is kind of a scary thing if you're a parent, but that's probably for another video. So we have some of those learned responses, And your brain has had those thoughts, and it's created a neural pathway, so you automatically go down this pathway. I have a dog named Stella, and some of you have met her or seen her in other videos, and she's here with us. She's doing great, and has adjusted very well. But Stella has a reaction response to other dogs, and she's had that since I've owned her. And although we've been working on it for the last year, and she's done really great. She's come so far. In fact, I think there's a video a few weeks ago here in Paris, and you can see her actually not respond when looking at another dog across the street. Amazing. It was so amazing. Now she still goes off, but that's that caveman, that archaic instinctual, and that she just goes off. I have to tell you a story. So the other day, I had made all these plans for Easter dinner. There's not a lot to do, as you know, when you're stuck at home, when you're quarantined at home. Not a ton to do, but we do have plenty of food and plenty of supplies and resources, so we can get what we want. And so we've been doing new recipes and things like that. And so they eat a lot of rabbit here, more than we do in the States, I would say, and lapin. And so I went to the store. I had searched recipes, and I found this beautiful, wonderful recipe with mustard sauce, which is a very classic French dish. Lapin with mustard sauce, moutarde. And so I went to the store, and they didn't have any rabbit. They had no rabbit. And I went to the butcher. He didn't have any rabbit. I went to another butcher. They didn't have any rabbit. I went, well, dang. And so my friend said, there's this boutique grocery here in Paris that's too far for us to go and walk to, but they deliver, and they have fabulous things. And so she ordered some, and she has ordered rabbit there before and many other things. And so I get online, I create an account, and I order my rabbit. I'm so excited. And so it's supposed to come on Friday before Easter. Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the tracking. I go back to the account to see like when it's supposed to come, if it's on schedule that day, if it's morning or afternoon. And so I realize, oh, I never hit the buy button. Like, I guess I didn't. It was never ordered. And that email I got, that was just showing me that I opened an account. So I wasn't getting any rabbit. So it's Friday before Easter. They won't deliver again until Tuesday. And I already know that the store and the butchers do not have rabbit. I was livid. I went off. I was so mad. I was so ticked off because I planned this. I planned it, and I was so excited about it, and it was going to be special, and there's not a whole lot of special, when you're quarantined in your house. And I was ticked off. Now, I know, it's stupid. So it doesn't have to be something huge that ticks you off, like a pandemic. It can be any small thing that ticks you off. And that thing, planning something and then things not turning out the way you planned, has ticked me off before. It's not the first time. And so Mike's like, it's no big deal. Don't get upset. Chicken works just fine. We're good. It's all good. Calm down. Well, of course I calmed down immediately. It's like, you're right. It's okay. But my point being this, you don't have to know exactly where that comes from. Like, why do I get ticked off about that? Now, I'm tons better than I used to be, because obviously I have worked on this lots and lots, and which is why I teach it. But I don't know where that comes from, that I planned something and it didn't happen, and so I get ticked off. I don't know how that connects to a fear response. I'm sure if I looked far enough, I could figure it out and tie it together. But you don't have to know where it comes from. It doesn't have to tie into something. What you do need to know is that it can be changed. It's just a neural pathway that you automatically go down. It's like an autonomous action. It's autopilot, it just jumps in that lane and there you go. And there you are, like going off like Stella. I call her I call that the exorcist moment, because that's what she looks like. When she goes off on another dog, when she sees another dog and she goes off, it's like the exorcist. Have you ever seen that movie? It's a long time ago. So if you haven't heard of it, go look it up. But it's like this response, like the devil's coming out of her, her tongue's hanging out and her head spinning around, and she just goes off. It's crazy. And so you don't have to have an idea of where that comes from. You can just know that you can rewire and create a new neural pathway to not do that, to choose something different. So and that's exciting, because that means that you can actually move from here to here. And that's the problem with this graph. It doesn't say how. It doesn't tell you, how do I get from here to here? This looks really good. I mean, this looks like, yeah, well, I understand. I do want to be over here. I do want to, this sounds fabulous. I make my talents available to those who need them. Well, of course, that sounds great. I live in the present and focus on the future. Yes, I would want to do that. But this doesn't tell you how, right? Well, on our website, playtalltoday.com, there's a method that I use and teach. I call it the 3 R's: release, retrain, repeat. It's a simple little 3-step method: release, retrain, repeat, that will guide you from being where you are to being where you want to be, by creating new neural pathways. So the first thing, this actually gives you a hint. When you step outside this fear zone and go into the learning zone, you get a hint by reading this of the first step. The first step is, I become aware, I identify my emotions, I evaluate the information, I recognize. That's all in this learning zone. It gives you a hint. That's the first thing to do. Recognize. Like, stop the madness. Sometimes I even say that to myself. Stop it. Just to slap yourself out of it. Stop it. And recognize, oh, I'm doing this again. Why am I doing that? Well, I don't need to know why. I just want to do it different. Why am I doing this? I see I'm doing it. I recognize I'm doing it. I really don't want to do that again. What else can I do differently? So recognition is the first step, the release. Once you recognize something, once you become aware of it, once you can identify it and go, that's it. I see you. I know that you're there. I see it again. Then it's the first step in releasing. It's the first step to say, aha, I don't want this anymore. So that's releasing. Secondly is retraining. So we want to create a new neural pathway, right? We have 60, 70, 80,000 thoughts a day. That's what they say. Scientists say we have 60, 70, 80,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot. That means there's thought all day long. That's how fast they go through, all day long. And the scary part of that really is that 75% of the time, those thoughts were exactly the same thought you had yesterday. They're repetitive. They're repeating what they thought yesterday and the day before and the day before, and it's on autopilot. Just like I mentioned, autopilot. So it's these constant thoughts that you've had before and before and before. And worse yet, imagine how many of those could be negative. Like, we're never going to get out of this. We're never going to pay our bills. We're never going to, and they'll repeat and repeat and repeat, right? And so the great news is, if those thoughts are running through your brain, you can decide which thoughts you want to have in your brain, and you can repeat those over and over and over again. And the way I love to do that is I love to tell people, tell the truth. Instead of saying the reaction, what you think is happening, what scares you the most, instead of saying that over and over again, decide to tell the truth. Tell the truth about what's happening. Take myself, for instance. What's the truth about this? I have plenty of food. I have plenty of supplies. the sun is going to rise tomorrow if I don't have rabbit. I can cook something else. I'm healthy. My husband is healthy. We're so good right here. All is really well. I don't have to have rabbit. It's all really good. That's the truth, right? And so start telling the truth about the situation. You really are creative. You can solve problems. You've solved problems before. I know you can work this through. I know you can figure this out. You're smart. You're brilliant. You're a genius. So tell the truth about the situation and repeat that over and over and over. See, we've just gone from retraining to repeating. If there's 80,000 thoughts going through your brain and it created a neural pathway, we're going to have to repeat it a few times. So what we want a new neural pathway to look like, we're going to have to repeat that a few times, aren't we? We're going to have to repeat it. So tell the truth and repeat it. Release, retrain, repeat. I would love to hear some of your trigger moments, what set you off, some of the lies that you tell yourself, some of the thoughts that you have when that happens, and then maybe we can work on some of the truth that you want to repeat to yourself so you can change a situation. So post that here and let's have a conversation about that, and make sure to go to the website and sign up for the newsletter. It goes out once a month. I don't like throw you bunches of emails every single day or anything like that. So you can have access to lots of resources, and there's some great deals on classes and books and audios. So take a look at that. And what else? Oh, I know. I was going to finish by telling you this story. See, I knew there was something else. I was going to finish by wrapping up and telling you this story about Stella because it's adorable. So we had been working on this. I finally found a year ago, I found this reactive rover class, and it was for other rovers who are reactive to whatever, loud sounds or, other dogs or whatever. And it's just amazing how quickly, and you'll find this when you retrain your brain, it's amazing how quickly it can happen. So we'd only been going a couple weeks, 2, maybe 3 weeks, and we were in New Orleans, and I was taking her out for a walk, and so that we open the gates and step out onto the sidewalk. And as we do, I look down the street, and there's my neighbor, like 3 doors down. And 3 doors down in New Orleans is very close because there's no yards and fences, and all the houses are right next to each other, so it's pretty close. There's Mary with her dog, a pit bull mix, who survived Katrina and has her own issues. The dog, not Mary. And so, bless her heart, little dog. But Stella has always reacted to her and she to Stella. Now she's much, much better, and we were just starting. So we walk out of the gate and she looks down at the dog. I look down at Mary. We all 4 of us pause. Like we just held our breath because we know the usual response. Stella looks at the dog. Then she looks the other way and she takes a breath and starts walking in the opposite direction. I was shocked. I was amazed. And I'm just literally shocked. We go across the street. I'm like, good girl, you did it. We get across the street. I give her treats. I mean, she did it without me even helping her with it. I didn't say a word to her. She chose that on her own. And so as soon as you start changing the pattern of your reaction, you will start doing it yourself too, just like that. And she felt, you could tell, her chest puffed up and she was just strutting and she thought she was something because she was so proud of herself. Now, I don't know. I know that dogs don't have the same, in-depth conscious thoughts that we do, but I know she felt in control. And that's what you get when you have a choice. And you do have a choice in a reactive situation. So be safe, touch base, post a few things, and we will see you again soon. A bientôt. Au revoir. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.